Dr. Stone, episode 10, recap, go. Magma kills Ansar again. Then we have a flashback. Then we have a flash sideways. Then Ansar again isn't dead. Then we have another flashback. And then Ansar again joins Senku in the last few moments of the episode. So, what did you like? There's a lot to like in this episode. Let me grab my notes, because I apparently take notes for this podcast now. Alright. So at the beginning, I like that Ansar again freely admits to being the most shallow person alive, and he'll only do things that benefit himself. And I think that that's a cute way of saying, well, yeah, no duh, I'm gonna be joining your whole kingdom of science thing. You guys have electricity and all of this other bullshit that I'm not gonna just turn my back on. So then then another thing that I like is, I guess something, it's more that I just noticed, is Tsukasa's unpetrifying of Gin is likely his biggest downfall, like his biggest mistake that he ever made. And if unpetrifying him isn't the biggest mistake that he made, then telling a literal mentalist that he murders people who value intelligence is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Like, I wrote down a joke that says Mr. T is drinking his own Kool-Aid already. Which, yeah, he thinks of himself as this immortal being. Like, he's so strong and young now, and age will never come and touch this shell of a being. And it's like, yeah, it's reflected in his whole mentality of, let's kill all the old people, then we'll never have old people again. It's like, oh, you were a dumb, stupid idiot, aren't you? But yeah, I just don't understand why you'd be like, hey, there's this man, he really valued science and reviving all of the people who were alive back in the day, and I fucking murdered him. I have no remorse. Anyone who's smart, I'm gonna kill them too. So yeah, if you feel like being smart, then I don't have room for you. And he's saying this to someone who literally, their whole job is to outwit other people. Stupid. Dumb. Dumb, stupid, dumb idiot man. That's what Tsukasa is in this episode. So yeah, then, we get to the question of, does anyone really ever die in this show? And spoiler alert, the answer's fucking no. Even all the people we've seen so far in the show, that, like, I guess that's spoilers. We'll get into that. But yeah, no one ever really dies in this show. And then we get to the Grand Bout. This is the first flashback I was talking about. Which is so good. If you... this show, I know I've said it a couple of times, but this show is a masterclass in just how to multitask while doing exposition. So, in the Grand Bout, it sets up future episodes. It gives us a real reason to hate Magma, because, let's be honest, dumb person in a village hears that a sorcerer's coming to town. He sees the sorcerer doing some stuff. There's definitely a correlation and causation thing going on here that Magma doesn't quite realize. And he is definitely big dumb idiot number 2 of this episode. But he is more or less defending his village at this point. But back to the Grand Bout explanation. So it gives us a reason to hate Magma. In the whole, I'm gonna take this woman as my bride so I can be the chief, then drown her in her own healing water. That's one of the more messed up things that you can hear in an anime. But yeah, it shows that Kahaku is actually a really strong female lead, instead of just, some teenager who's acting out against her dad because he doesn't understand what she really feels. which he doesn't really understand. He's taking his job more seriously than his role as a father, and instead of looking for ways to heal his daughter, he's just kind of resigned to the fact that he needs to find a new chief sooner than she can die. And that is a toxic relationship, I guess. It's not really how you want your parents to be treating you, so it gives a really, really good reason for Kohaku and her dad to not be seeing eye to eye, is because Kohaku just wants to save her sister, and the chief of the village is too busy being the chief of the village to take care of his own home. It's good storytelling, it's good stakes. No one is inherently the bad guy here, it's just two completely different views, and yeah, you should look after your daughters. Obviously, you should be looking after your family, but if there's no tribe for your family to exist in, then all of your family is going to be having issues, not just the one who's sick. So, definitely morally gray. Not the route that I would take, but I'm not going to say that it's an inherently amoral choice for him to make. But yeah, that's good writing. It's good tension between characters who deep down truly love each other. And Kohaku and her dad do love each other. It's a very strained relationship because of all of the shit that I just said. But at the same time, it's a good and well-developed relationship that has room to grow and to fix itself. And not to get into the spoiler section of the show, but you start to see that happening in the later episodes, and it's really kind of nice. It shows how just because someone's being a dickhead in a particular situation doesn't mean that they're always out to get you, and that just because you don't see eye to eye with someone doesn't mean it's impossible to see eye to eye with them on other things. And it's just good. I like it. That's why it's in things that I like. There's things I didn't like. Yeah, we're gonna actually have a things I don't like section in this, and it's not gonna be about his earmuffs. Oh my god, no, nope. Don't think about it. Don't. Okay, next point. Things that I like. So this is after the whole Grand Bout flashback when Kohaku walks up to Ginro and Jinro, and she asks what they would think about marrying her sister. And I like that Ginro is confronted twice in this episode about marriage. And he's the perv character, and I usually always hate the perv character in these shows. One of the more humanizing things they did for Ginro, and he's 14, so of course that he over-sexualizes this concept, but he seems to really respect the concept of marriage. In a 14-year-old's eyes, you marry the person that you're going to bone for the rest of your life. That's just how a 14-year-old dude views marriage. That's the perks that you get. You know that they're not, ideally, you know that they're not going to leave you. And he understands and values faithfulness. And I don't know, I think that's kind of sweet. I don't think you're gonna get Grapehead from My Hero Academia talking about how, I really want to marry this person, so it's just them and me for the rest of our life. No, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get that from... I don't know. I hate to call Kamino the perv character in Gurren Lagann, but after episode 6, you gotta kind of label him with that. And I don't know. He's kind of a romantic guy, I guess, but at the same time, at no point do you get the feeling that if he and Sniper Girl ever ended up together, that it would be a wholly strong and capable relationship. I don't think anyone should get that impression while watching Gurren Lagann. So, back to this show. Kohaku really wants Chrome to marry Ruri because all three of them want Chrome and Ruri to be married. Chrome really likes Ruri, Ruri really likes Chrome. They've been friends for a long time. It would likely be the most beneficial relationship that either of the two of them could have. And Kahaku is sad that she thinks it's impossible for Chrome to beat Magma. And we get this little bit where Senku starts being kind of a chode, and he takes that pity that he hears her giving him and just starts to rub it and grind it all into his face. And that's when we get our next flashback. And I think that, like I always think, that most of the people in the show are misunderstanding Senku's intentions. He's not trying to be mean. He's trying to be mean, but in a very specific way. He's provoking a heated reaction from Chrome. He's trying to see how Chrome is responding to all of what a lot of people would categorize as misfortune happening around him. And he's trying to see how Chrome's going to handle all of this heat and pressure, so he adds a little more heat and pressure, and then he gets to see that Chrome is processing this as well as he possibly could. Chrome says, yes, I've always wanted to marry Ruri, but at the same time, I want her to live a long and happy life. And if that means that someone else has to beat Magma to make sure that she doesn't get drowned in her own healing waters, and that we can give her this cure-all drug, then that is more than I could ever hope for. So you guys keep winning. Me and Senku are going to make this cure-all drug, and we're going to do this. And he has one of the more positive outlooks. Like, he's on equal footing with Senku of, yeah, everything's kind of scuffed around us, but we can unscuff this. We can polish it. We'll make it right. And I think that's what Senku, obviously that's what Senku was looking for. He wanted to hear that out of Chrome. He didn't want to hear, oh, woe is me, you're all right, everyone feels sorry for me. He wanted to see Chrome get up off of his face and go do something about it. Like, yeah, this is messed up. I need to know that you'll be okay letting these people do their thing so that you can focus on helping me do our thing. Because our thing doesn't matter if they don't win, and them winning doesn't matter if we can't end up getting this drug in time. So again, good writing. I like that this show doesn't always come out and explain what their characters are saying at every given second. That really bothers me a lot. It reminds me of the Futurama bit where Fry's playing his opera and the first time the show got canceled. And he's playing this opera, and he has the robot devil singing, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupider than you. And then the real robot devil shows up on stage and he says, you can't just declare how your characters feel. That makes me feel angry. And I like that this show kind of takes that advice and rolls with it. Like, yeah, we're not always just going to tell you what we're thinking at any given second of any given day. You have to read between the lines and see what we're trying to do with our words. And that's something I wish people in the real world would figure out, that that's what people in the real world do a lot. So near the end of the episode, there's a few more really good things. One thing that does make me a little bit sad, but I can't quite put it in things that I don't like, is Chrome gets rid of his cape. Like, you don't see him ever, like, throw it away into a fire or something like that, but he had his whole, like, sorcerer get-up, and at the end of this episode he says, I'm gonna be the best sciencer, and Senku kind of giggles, and he doesn't have the heart to tell him that, oh no, we're called scientists. But yeah, I don't think we ever see Chrome with his cape again, and that makes me sad. I liked Chrome with his cape. He looked like an actual sorcerer from D&D. I thought it was cute. But yeah, so we're now sciencers instead of sorcerers, so I guess that's a step forward. So then finally, for things that I like, let's get into the cola. First off, Senku Cola, the splash art that's at the very end of the show, makes me thirsty every time I see it. That's just really fantastic splash art. But further than that, uh, Old World Comforts eventually end up being one of the bigger bargaining chips in the episodes that we've seen in this whole war with people. So, like, anytime there's some sort of espionage going on, it's literally just people who have been unpetrified going, you can do this thing. This thing that reminds me of my old life. It makes me nostalgic. And if you can give me more of this thing, why in the world would I ever join Meathead McKiller Pants? It's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, not to sound, not to get rid of some of my allies if a zombie apocalypse ever shows up, but like, I don't know. I'm I'm probably joining the faction. If there's an equal number of guns and men on each side, I'm definitely joining the one with more cigarettes and fucking Mountain Dew. I'll tell you that much. All right. But yeah, I think that Cola being the first of the old world bargaining chips makes a lot of sense for this show. Like, they've already stated that cooking is just an offshoot of science if it weren't for our capacity. Like, if it, I mean, that's what cooking is it's chemical changes within food that make it more readily appetizing and actually edible as opposed to, you know, certain things that you don't cook right just flat out kill you. And so I like that it just makes sense that this is the first thing that they would make. They're already going to be making the carbonated water to do the brewing in, so why wouldn't they? And this is also kind of like, it's also kind of a spoiler. Like, if you understand that the carbonation, like carbonating water is part of the process of developing the sulfa drugs that they're making, then it will kind of show you one of the later aspects of the roadmap that they're on now. And it's not like you can't just like freeze frame and see what all they need to do on the roadmaps, but they I don't know. It's just neat. They wove it into the story they were already telling really well, and they do that with the next big bargaining chip, which is what I mostly have in mind when I'm talking about this. They weave it into the story that they're doing. Like, they make this thing important to someone that is already on the roadmap. And yes, that is, oh, how convenient. We were already doing that. But at the same time, we got 22-minute episodes. We got to make a show here. But it also stems from one of the big points the show likes to make, which is doing one, like having a really big final goal, like a large scientific achievement, oftentimes leads to small victories just in your wake that you weren't expecting. And we'll get into that a lot more when it gets to be closer to wintertime in the show, because that I'm probably going to gush for like 10 minutes about how awesome a particular scene is, and that scene's only like 30 seconds long. But yeah, that's everything that I liked, so flip back to the front page. Make the viewers worry about what's coming up. Do you know what's coming up? I think you do. You do. There's going to be a really big shouty bit. It's going to be a really big shouty bit right about now. What did you not like? Oh, man. Alright, so, things that I don't like. Every time I watch this episode, it makes me think of Beauty and the Beast. Because Magma is what everyone always tells me Gaston is. Gaston from Beauty and the Beast is, hey Happy, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast is not nearly as bad as y'all think he is. So let's all right, fucking film theory time. I don't know if he actually did this one because I watch game theory and food theory, but film theory mostly misses me a lot of the time. So Gaston, he doesn't like people who read. No one in either early Renaissance or late medieval France liked anyone who could read. It was a sign of nobility, or it was a sign that you were rich. And French people, back in those days, wanted to hang everyone who could fucking read at the time. Gaston being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be reading all of these books all the time. Maybe you should, like, go hang out and be social and, there's this whole uprising that's probably going to be happening within your lifetime, and maybe you should make some friends before that happens and not be a social outcast that everyone only knows for this one thing that's a mark of nobility. You cannot convince me that Gaston isn't a reasonable person before all of the magic shit shows up. Yeah, he's a little bit chauvinistic, but let's be honest, a lot of people are. If chauvinism is the only mark of someone that you don't like, that's something that usually can be like shown like, hey, yeah, women can do a lot of the things that men can do. It just kind of happens that, he's one of those examples of it's rare that a woman's going to physically match him in, say, like, a wrestling or boxing or hunting contest, especially because he's been hunting for all of his life. But, like, you put him and Katniss Everdeen in a hunting match, they're gonna come out about even most of the time. Dude hunts for an entire village. Then I always get, oh, he doesn't love Belle, he shoved her father in an insane asylum, which, that's way better than just leaving him on the side of the road raving about a magical monster that kidnapped his daughter. Also, in some tellings of that story, as soon as Maurice comes in and is like, hey, there's this big scary monster in the woods, Gaston is the only one of the village people who's like, yo, we need to go save this girl. One of ours is lost in the woods, and whether there's a magical monster or not, we need to go save her. Then a few people go and die to dire wolves, and he comes back, and then he throws Maurice in the insane asylum because, oh, you and your daughter are conspiring to fucking kill us, which, fair. And then once someone actually comes back with proof that the beast is, holding this woman that Gaston loves captive, which, by the way, that Gaston does actually love Belle because he's so fucking depressed when the smart girl doesn't want him around. Like, in the song about how Gaston is so great, there's a bunch of bimbos dying at his feet that he isn't really all that interested in. I've been talking about a Disney movie for way too long on this podcast. But yeah, in this episode, we hear Magma talk about how Kohaku is just a girl that he can conquer, and how Rune will make for a shitty wife, and he'll drown her in her own healing waters. I'm going to repeat that again, because I just repeated it. He's going to drown his newlywed wife in the waters that she bathes in to heal herself. Happy? You're about to make an enemy. Sorry, my cat is getting all up in my business. So, alright. More things that I don't like. Magma is evil, actual Gaston that people talk about how bad Gaston is. Magma actually does all that stuff. Alright, next thing that I didn't like. Ginro and Jinro have this really, really weird conversation when Rune asks them how they would feel about marrying her sister. Because Ginro's like, oh, she has such a pretty face, and I like her eyes and her mouth, and she's really graceful, and this and that. And then his older brother turns to him and says, all you've talked about is her face. don't you look at a girl's appearance. What the fuck does that mean? Is a girl's face not part of her appearance? Also, you're this pervy kid's older brother. Are you really, like, trying to get him to just, like, ogle girls' tits and ass all the time? This is a weird line. This is a super weird line. Was it just lost in translation? I don't get it. I really don't. Like, how do you not think a girl's face is part of her appearance? That... Oh, he's fucking blind. He might actually be face blind because he can't see anybody. Huh. Okay, so this is either something I don't like or really, really good writing. I'll let you be the judge. I think I'm leaving it in things I don't like just because the line's awkward. I'm gonna say this again. All you've talked about is her face. Don't you look at a girl's appearance. That, it literally makes no sense to me. Like, the only explanation I could have is that he's so face blind that, like, ooh, curves are literally all I can see on a person. That's strange. That's odd. I don't like that line. I don't. It's weird. It's just so weird, especially for, like I said, an older brother to be saying to his younger brother that is the town perv. It's just odd. Maybe he's surprised that the town perv is only worried about her face. Like, I guess that is kind of a weird... Like, you expect her to be like, oh, everything she has is so bouncy and sways when she walks, but he really does just talk about her face. Maybe Genro isn't just as awful as I paint him to be. He's pretty awful. He gets bad later in the show. I think that's everything that I don't like. So, spoilers? I don't know. I've already talked about all of the things that I could spoil because they're so well done. I don't really think I want to get into any spoilers. So, recap. What is the big takeaway from this episode? Ooh. What is the big takeaway from this episode? That a girl's face isn't part of her appearance. No. No. Bad, Gordon. That Tsukasa makes all of his own problems. It's true. He does. Yeah, no, I guess that's it. Don't make problems for yourself. Tsukasa does literally everything wrong. Like, he has all of the physical prowess to achieve his goals, but he goes about everything in the exact wrong way. Like, this whole I'm an invincible being and I'm never going to age and I can do whatever I want and no one's going to try to lift a finger to stop me because I'm so impressive. I guess the moral of the story is to never have that mindset, but it's just, he is his own undoing. If he didn't show his hand to Senku as early as he did, he could have taken out Senku in his sleep. If he didn't unfreeze Gin, he could have just gotten critical mass of meatheads and actually searched the forest or whatever. And that would have worked fine for him. There's literally no reason for him to do... Well, I guess there's reason for it. It's just really bad reasoning skills. And I guess if you're gonna have a villain who's as strong as Tsukasa is, you can't have him have good reasoning skills. Otherwise, it's gonna be too hard to take him down. And the whole, like... The thesis to the Stone Wars is not something that you haven't heard before. It's that brains are stronger than brawn almost all of the time. And even if you take away everyone's technology, the smarter person often will come out ahead. So yeah, I guess that's it. If you're gonna be strong, be smart. Make a workout playlist of audiobooks instead of music. I don't I don't know. Probably that. Yeah. Yeah. If you're gonna be if you're gonna be a nerd about your muscles, be a nerd about your brain. It's the best muscle you have. I am rambling.